Okay, our first session today is going to be on risk management, and I know I've got a couple of questions already on why crop insurance fits into farm transfers, and I think it goes back to something that Danny was mentioning yesterday, that you want to prepare that next generation, not for the last 25 years, but for the next 25 years. And as we saw in the 2014 Farm Bill, there's going to be a lot more emphasis on insurance-like programs instead of direct payments and counter-cyclical programs. Today, we're going to kick off the program with Jeremy Ferret. He's a Vice President of Crop Growers, LLP, in Homer, New York. And Crop Growers is owned by the members of Farm Credit East, Yankee Farm Credit, and Ag Choice Farm Credit. Jeremy began his crop insurance career at Crop Growers in 1997, and he's a graduate of Class 8 of the Lead New York program. Jeremy lives with his wife and two daughters in Cazenovia, New York. And then joining Jeremy today is Sarah Johnson from Ag and Markets. Sarah coordinates the crop insurance education program and the organic programs of the department. Before coming to the Department of Ag and Markets, she was the Executive Director of the Northeast Organic Farming Association. And she holds an undergraduate degree in ecology and a master's in public administration from New York University. She lives in Montgomery County. So, Jeremy?
Thank you, Dan. All right. When I was asked to speak on farm transfers and crop insurance, I knew it was an important topic. And farm transfers, I've been fortunate. Over the last 17 and a half years, I've been able to develop and modify over 600 risk management plans. And a lot of those risk management plans involve the farm business transfer. And during that farm business transfer, it's an exciting time, but it's also a vulnerable time. And a time where crop insurance does have a role to make sure that that transition is successful. So as I was asked to talk on this topic, it is very dear to me. It is very close to me. And I knew as I look out across the room, I've got a lot of friends that I've been able to build in the relationships over the last 17 plus years. So looking forward to the next 20 minutes. So my topic is going to be about 20 minutes, and then Sarah will come in for 20 minutes, and then we'll finish up with open question and answer. So give a little background on who we are. As Dan had mentioned, we are owned by 3 farm credit associations: Farm Credit East, Ag Choice, and Yankee Farm Credit. We are very fortunate to serve 2,279 farms throughout 9 states. We have 20 salary-based agents. Crop insurance was very simple to us as to how we went and delivered the program to you. We weren't going to be on commission. It was very important to us that when we sit down with you, there are no barriers. There's only one motive, and that's to help you be successful. And then our processing center is right in central New York, which is in Homer, Cortland area. This purpose was established in 1997, September 13th, 1997, and hasn't changed one word since. To contribute to the success of Northeast agriculture through the education, marketing, and servicing of the federal crop insurance program to our customers. I can guarantee you that will not change, at least for the next 26 years that I have left involved. So that will not waver. What we're going to cover is the New York State crop insurance performance and participation, the important dates to be mindful of about obtaining coverage, changing coverage, what the insurable crops are in New York State, and a couple new programs. One that came about in the 2014 Farm Bill, which was the beginning farmer and rancher program benefits, and then new producer benefits. So why did I include these in the topic? Well, when we're in a farm transfer situation, we typically have a new producer someone that has not had an insurable interest in a crop, but now taking on that insurable interest, meaning having an investment in the crop. So 2 very important points. And then also, I always like to wrap up with how to develop a risk management plan. Simple, easy approach, but very important approach to every plan that we develop. History of the crop insurance program in New York State from 2004 to 2013. You can look at the claims paid. Claims paid over that period of time, over $290 million. What you've paid out of your pocket, $85 million. So for every dollar a New York State producer has paid into the crop insurance program, the program has paid back $3.41. Anyone want to comment on that? If you're familiar with insurance, that's usually not how the insurance program works. One of what's that, Sandy? Who? Well, your neighbors did. Taxpayers did. And we'll talk about that in just a moment as to the cost sharing. One of the things that interested me when I started in 1997 is in the Midwest, Indiana, Illinois, Iowa, they have a 90% participation in crop insurance, and they have and this is a 10-year history, they have a 30% loss ratio. So 90% of the acreage is insured, 30% loss ratio over a 10-year period of time. In New York State, we have about a 60% participation. Anyone want to guess what the loss ratio is in New York State over a 10-year period of time? How much? 60%? Anyone else? 50? 87% loss ratio. When I started with crop insurance, I heard over and over again at every kitchen table, we don't experience those kind of losses. Those losses are felt in the Midwest. Not true. Not true, and these numbers hold true to that. Important dates. We're coming up on a major one right now for the majority of crops, spring crops. And what I ask is don't wait until March 1st to start your reviewing and sitting down with an agent. So March 15th is the spring crop sales closing. April 29th is the production reporting date. So that's when you establish your production history. The program is based off of your own production history. We don't want you to use a county average if we don't have to, or a percentage of. We want to use your own production history. The acreage reporting date is right in line with the Farm Service Agency's acreage reporting date, which is July 15th. Fall crops, wheat, and we'll go through the crops in just a moment. So our fall crop sign-up is September 30th, and our perennial crop sign-up, such as our apples, grapes, peaches, is November 20th. So these are key points to keep in mind. Don't wait until a week before those dates to start the conversation with an agent. Start that process much earlier than that. We talked about the subsidy and the cost sharing of the program. Here are the different coverage levels. They range from 50% from the catastrophic coverage level. And I'm here to tell you that if you participate in crop insurance and you're at the catastrophic coverage level, it is the coverage level of disappointment. I have no problem in sharing that. With 18 years of working with the program, I know where concerns come from. And concerns come from, do I have the right coverage level? Do I have the right plan? Do I have the right program in place? At the catastrophic coverage, while it's 100% subsidized, which is great, it's extremely affordable, but there's really not much there for you. And then the coverage levels range from 50% to 85%. I've shaded the 80 and 85% because those were fairly new within the last 3 years available to New York producers. So that was a positive movement. You can see the subsidy levels. The subsidies range from 80% to 38%. So very heavily subsidized. Your share is that bottom chart. Again, very reasonable premiums. Just to give an example, a corn producer looking at 70 or 75% coverage level that wants to put their acreage in one unit, which is known as an enterprise unit, your premium could cost $11 per acre to protect about $500 per acre. So very affordable coverage at with the cost sharing that certainly makes the difference, makes that more affordable. The insured crops. This is our spring crops right here. So you can see from corn, soybeans, onions, our small grains, fresh market sweet corn, processing sweet corn, snap beans. Here's our fruit crops, fall crops, and then we have our dollar amount programs, and those are pasture, rangeland, forage, livestock, gross margin dairy, and the newly introduced within the last month, the whole farm revenue policy. If we have a crop that is not on that list that you produce, that is actually insured somewhere in the country, we can complete a written agreement for that crop. So if it's insurable somewhere in the country, we can pull that crop to our state. So a little more work, but it's a written agreement option. The two programs that we'll just touch base on right now is the Beginning Farmer. This was a part of the 2014 Farm Bill. And a Beginning Farmer program benefits, you're exempt from paying the administrative fees, and the administrative fees are from $30 to $300, the catastrophic fee. You have an additional subsidy of 10%. So if you just saw the subsidy at 80% for the enterprise unit, that subsidy would be 90%. So your cost of the coverage would be 10%. We use production history from the farming operation. So if a new producer, if a beginning farmer had participated in the management of that crop, we can actually use the production history of that farm. So that's a benefit. What are the qualifications? Must be an individual. That doesn't mean you can't be married, but must be an individual. Must not have had an insurable interest in any of the crops or livestock for 5 years. So if you're a new entity and you have not had an insurable interest, so if you're in that farm business transfer, the new operator of that farm, the next generation, has not had an insurable interest in that crop, then we would apply for these benefits, and this is what the benefits would provide. So, certainly, Sandy. Yes. Yep. All members of that LLC or S corp, the corporation, all members must meet this criteria of being a beginning farmer. So good question. If we pulled in the next generation, son or daughter, but yet the main operator, the parents were still a part of the operation, they wouldn't receive the benefit of the beginning farmer program.
Suppose a senior couple puts their land in a trust. A new generation leases the farm from the trust. Is that eligible in this kind of a situation?
I'd have to go a little bit more into the understanding, but it sounds as though it would, because the new operator, as long as they had 5 years or less than 5 years of an insurable interest in the crop, they would meet the criteria for this benefit. Thank you. Good question. Good question. The next benefit, and this has been in place for many years, is this is a new producer benefit. So new producer, not raising a crop. Typically where we see this is the operator has raised corn, the producers raised corn for 5 years, and now going to add soybeans to their operation, or another crop. So they receive 100% of the county average as their yield. So if the county yield for soybeans is 38 bushels, they're going to receive 38 bushels as their production history. Again, we can, if they've participated in the management of the operation and the raising of that crop, we can actually use the other producer's production history. So that might be a 42 bushel yield on that soybeans rather than the county average of 38. So we can use another producer's yields. Qualifications: must not have actively engaged in farming for a share of the production of the insured crop in the county for more than 2 years. So this benefit really only lasts 2 years. So if a new producer raising soybeans first time, they can have 2 years of this new producer benefit. And then wrapping up, developing a risk management plan. This is, I guess I'm going to be extremely biased when I say this. This is what we do best. This is what we do best. When we sit down at the kitchen table, we ask you what your cost of production is. We ask you what your production history is. We ask you how many miles do you farm from furthest points. Is your land, do you have different soil types? Do your yields, do they vary from location to location? We have a risk assessment that we sit down with every producer on to gather that information to understand your operation, and then we execute on a risk management plan. Pretty simple. We sit down with you and evaluate what your risk exposure is. Is your risk exposure, do you have livestock that you need to feed? One of the first things that I ask my team from January 1st to March 15th, be 10 minutes early to that farm visit. And if you can see the bunk from the road, don't go looking for it. Don't go driving around the farm looking for the bunk. If you can see that bunk from the road, and you see that the inventory level is low, that you're just chomping away at that bunk, you've got risk exposure going into 2015. We talk about if you're a grain producer, we talk about price volatility. Is that your risk exposure? Then we understand your cost of production. That's the driving force behind our plans, is if you have $550 an acre invested into that corn crop, our goal is to protect $550 an acre. It's pretty simple. Match a plan that protects your investment. You've worked extremely hard to do two things, and that's to produce a crop and build equity. Our job is to protect and preserve that equity. Develop a relationship with a crop insurance agent early on. Find someone that truly cares about your business. Find someone that truly understands your business. Find somebody that you know their motive and purpose is just that, to protect your investment. Learn about the available options and the available programs that are available. Develop a plan and stay the course. Fortunately, over those 600 farms that I've been blessed to be able to work with, we adjust on an annual basis. We adjust those risk management plans depending on your business circumstance. If you are solid as a brick house on feed inventory level, good quality forages, then maybe we can adjust that plan. But you develop a plan that meets these objectives, and you adjust on an annual basis based on what the concern is. Going into 2015, I am very pleased to say that we now insure 7.8 million hundredweights of milk under the Livestock Gross Margin Dairy Program. I am extremely pleased to share that those plans are doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing going into 2015. In September 2014, the average Class 3 milk price was $24.58, Class 3 milk price. February, March, and April, we all know what we're looking at. Class 3 milk prices forecasted to be below $15. Producers that used the Livestock Gross Margin Dairy Program, I'll share one example. Large dairy operation called me in September and said, we want to enroll 240,000 hundredweights of milk in 2015. A 10-month risk management plan. I said, why 10 months? He goes, because we're going to go low and we're going to stay low and it's going to be painful. And I said, I don't really like a 10-month plan. And he goes, no, I know what I'm doing. In September, we put that plan in place. I called him just before Christmas and said, I know we aren't into the contract months yet. I said, I know we're still early in this process. and I know the contract won't be up until next October, but I want to share with you what your plan is doing right now. After premium, because of the projected milk price futures, after premium net projected back to farm was $297,000 already. So put someone around you that cares about your business, put together a plan that makes sense, execute on it, stay the course, but make adjustments throughout that period of time. So that's what I have. Did I? Sarah?
You're doing just fine. Keep going.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Sarah, all you. What we'll do is, so Sarah will come up, talk on her topic, and then we'll have some time at the end for question and answers.